I'm going to start talking to you first about light rather than lighting. My hope is that my presentation to you will open your eyes and your minds to the way that light can be used in design. And then when we look at the possibilities that we can use light for, we can also assess where we're at in the profession of lighting design and possibly where we should get to in the future with lighting design. The first light, of course, and not so long ago, right? We were all using this as a light 100 years ago. Some of you may not be aware that light has three components, three characteristics. It has the visual characteristic, which affects us physically, allows us to see. It has an emotional characteristic. In other words, light can actually shape the way we feel about spaces, about experiences. And light can also have a biological effect. It affects our physiology inside us, our well-being. Right. I think all of you are probably familiar with the visual aspect of light. Now, we use light to allow us to do things, right? We have light at nighttime to illuminate a path so we can walk safely. We use light in our workplaces to illuminate tasks, to allow us to do them effectively. I think all of you understand the visual or physical part of light. Less understood is the other two aspects. And this is not some crazy theory I've cooked up just for you guys, right? This has come from science, right? Light affects the way we feel about things. The way we light a space affects our emotions, our feelings, and the way we interact with other people. And the way that we light a space also affects us and our being, right? Our natural biorhythm of life. Now, I'm pretty sure all of you as children were told stories. In some cultures, they use light to tell stories. But light is always been part of theatre and being part of telling stories. Light can affect our emotions, so it is a great way of telling stories. And it's a great way of reinforcing a story about a design or a building so that the light and the architecture and the design all fit together. Right, so that's the emotional characteristic of light. The biological characteristic of light is about how light supports our natural rhythm of life. Right, we are awake during the day and we rest at night, mostly. So in the morning, the light is cool and it wakes us up. In the midday, the light is bright and intense and we're productive. In the evening, the light softens and becomes warm, which prepares us for rest. It's no coincidence that candles have a warm, soft, colored light, and that's what we used at nighttime until about 100 years ago. So given that light we can tell stories with light, and we can promote design, and we can shape space with light, and given that we can use light to promote wellness, a sense of well-being, a sense of rest, a sense of being in tune with nature, if we can use light on those levels, I'm wondering what all of you might start thinking about on your projects. So these are some of the questions that I think about, or lighting designers think about when they are given a project. Right? How can I help my client get a better night's sleep? So this is a competition that we won in 2019, when the world was still buzzing around. A hotel chain ran a competition about a design for a hotel for business, and we won this competition. So let me tell you the story behind this. Mrs. Smith is a business traveller from New Zealand, and Mrs. Smith is approximately 6 hours different in time when she arrives in Ho Chi Minh. So she arrives in Ho Chi Minh from New Zealand, and she's had a long day of travel. She goes to the hotel room, puts down the bags, looks outside, and it's still daylight. So what does Mrs. Smith need? She needs energy. So in this hotel room, she puts it on the bright white setting. This intensity and this style of light gives energy. It's the sort of light we have during the middle of the day. But right next door in the room, someone else has arrived. Mr. Jones has arrived from England, and he is around the other way, right? He's still feeling fresh. His body clock says it's 5 p.m. And he looks outside and it's nighttime. So he changes the lighting, to this, which is a warmer, softer illumination. in the room. Warmer, softer lighting prepares us for rest. So why shouldn't our hotel rooms be like this? Why shouldn't our houses be like this? How can my workplace become more productive? The funny thing about the biological clock that we have is that we're attuned to change because during the day, light changes all the time. It doesn't only change in color, it changes intensity, right? So why do we light our workplaces through an even illumination? Where does that come from? I need lots of bright light when I'm focusing on tiny detail. I need a soft, warmer light when I'm talking with my team or relating to people in sort of an HR mode. I want task lighting so I can choose when I want it bright and when I want it soft. Right, so in this office, it was designed particularly to be more like a hospitality venue in that the light is at a low scale, it's human scale. There are spaces that are bright with daylight. There are spaces that are softer with warmer, lower level of light. So this idea is called biophilia. I wonder if any of you know that word, biophilia. So yes, 𝗣𝗶𝗵𝗵𝘁 is defined as our natural love of nature. That's our natural attraction to nature, right? So nature is variable. The light changes in nature. It changes in color and it changes in intensity. And in this example of a lawyer's office, we work with the interior designer to bring other aspects of biophilia into the workplace. In particular, you can see from this the printed screen with the natural leaf patterns on. Why should our workspaces all be lit to the same bright level? Okay, what about promoting care in our cities? You know, this is an interesting topic. Do we really look after our cities? Can we promote an attitude of care in our public places? Okay, so when we light our cities, we want to create public spaces that people feel comfortable in. If we make people feel comfortable, then people will go there. If people go to a space, they're not going to feel comfortable, they're going to feel safe because there's other people there. The more people that go to a public place and use a public place, the more people will go, right? So lighting our architecture, lighting our heritage, lighting our public spaces, our squares, our parks is extremely important to build pride in the city. And light has such an important role to play for that because at nighttime, it brings everything alive. How about using light to connect us better together, connect us together as people? Did you do this when you were children? Perhaps your country is much warmer than my country. But sitting around a fire was a great treat when we went to the beach at nighttime. I'm pretty sure at least some of you have memories like this, perhaps when you went camping. Do you remember how the light drew everyone together? The light was the circle where everybody met. The light rendered everybody's faces. Do you remember that? And the warm glow? Well, why can't we do that and the same thing in our restaurants? In this example, this was the first example of using battery-powered table lamps in the Sydney Opera House. And here we were able to take the lights out of the ceiling, where everyone puts lights, I don't know why. Take the lights out of the ceiling so that when you looked up, you saw those beautiful ribs arching over you. And the light on the table was just like the fire, right? It lit the faces of the people on the table. The light level fell off past your shoulder. You felt that you were sitting in a private group. So why don't we light our restaurants like this? Why don't we light our entertainment spaces like this? That we can form small groups and you can connect with those friends and family around you. And a favorite one of mine is, how can we use light to promote the understanding of culture? Right? This is something we really need in our world today. We need to promote the understanding and the appreciation of the diversity of cultures that we live in. So in Rajasthan, we worked on a restaurant which was only lit by candles. And I'm not sure if any of you are aware of Rajasthani culture. But in Rajasthan, they decorated their public buildings and their special palaces and other other larger spaces with tiny mirror tiles. embedded into the ceiling and the wall. So this was a very direct way we used lighting to explain the culture of Rajasthan. The light was exactly as people had it 400 years ago, 500 years ago. And slightly closer to home, in Thailand, some of you may know about Thai culture, particularly Loy Krathong culture. So using the ideas of candles, reflection of candles and water as a welcome space to a resort. So why can't we use Vietnamese culture in the way we light our welcoming spaces? Is there something in your culture that you can use in your projects to promote understanding of Vietnam? Right, these are the sorts of questions that we ask ourselves when we start a design. Because we know the power of light that we have, how we can shape people's emotions, tell stories, and promote wellness.